this is everything that I bought at Sephora 1 year later. If you just so happen to be new to the series, I go back in time and review all of my purchases from the previous year and let you know whether or not I felt like they were worth it or if they were purchases I regret. Today we are on part 4, Q1 of 2024. This time last year was also the Sephora sale, so I'm gonna go through the purchases I made last Sephora sale. Hopefully this serves as a guide to what you should and shouldn't buy during the Sephora sale this year. As always, keep in mind that my reviews are based on a matter of preference, so even though these didn't work for me, they may work for you. And if you decide not to shop the Sephora sale this year, I do not blame you. If anything, maybe this video will serve as a source of entertainment, or you can use it as inspiration to reflect back on your purchases from last year and decide whether or not they were worth it. I'm not going to go through these in any particular monthly order. I'm just going to go through them by category of what I purchased in Q1 because I have a lot to get through. So I'm going to try to get through these fairly quickly. I have reviewed these already in the past, but I have decided to re-review them because, you know, a lot can change in a year. I think I'm going to start with the Mercier foundation because this is one of the first makeup products that I think went viral last year. Like everything else in this video, I did buy this for review. I have an entire review on my channel. I no longer do singular reviews just because they don't feel like they are worth the time and effort anymore. I prefer to do like mini reviews and videos like this, but this time last year was when I was still kind of getting into the groove of my channel and I thought singular reviews were valuable, but people don't watch in-depth reviews like they used to. That's all to say. If you want an in-depth review of this, you can watch that video, you can watch the wear test. Long story short, I don't like it. 1 year later, I can confidently say this, if I was a normal consumer who bought this not for content, this is something that I would have regretted. Now, is it a bad foundation? It's not. But I wouldn't recommend it if you have oily skin. This is a very liquidy, oily foundation, and for that reason I always avoid using it. I also feel like it has a very strange smell, which makes me avoid it, but it's such a shame because the packaging on this is absolutely gorgeous. I also really like the transfer proof, long-lasting capabilities of this, so I think if you have drier skin it might work better for you, but if you watch my video and you watch the wear test, it just doesn't look that good at the end of the day, and I'm constantly having to touch up my skin. And for medium coverage, it's also very lightweight on the skin, but I cannot get over the actual finish being so greasy looking. So because of that, it's not something that I would recommend. It's also significantly pricey, and I have other foundations that I like better for oily skin. Speaking of foundations I like better for oily skin, Urban Decay Face Bond. I'm pretty sure I bought this during the Sephora sale and I do not regret it. This is something that I recommend specifically for oily skin, okay? If you have dry skin, I don't know if you would like it just as much because it is more of a natural to matte finish. It's also self-setting, so it's a little bit on the drier side. You really have to prep your skin well to get this to not look cakey, but aside from that, if you have good skin prep and you want a long-lasting transfer resistant foundation that has a natural to matte finish, this is where it's at. It is also technically self-setting. I do see that it sets on my skin, so I wouldn't recommend to bake with this foundation or it'll be too much, but a little bit of powder can't really hurt, especially if you're really oily. The only thing I wish could be better is the shade range, not in terms of how many shades from like light to dark, but in terms of undertones. I do wish they had more olive undertones in this because the neutral was a little bit too neutral for me. I got the warm and this is a little too yellow for me, so I would like an olive shade. But other than that, it's a pretty great, outstanding product. It really just depends on what kind of makeup you prefer and how you like to wear your makeup. If you don't use a lot of powder, if you want something long lasting, if you want something transfer resistant, you have oily skin, and you have a killer prep routine, I don't think you would regret this. Then I also purchased the Fenty Beauty Hydrating, We're Even Hydrating Longwear Concealer. I have the shade in 300N. Again, I did an entire video about this, which wasn't really necessary for a concealer, but but as you can tell, time has passed. I've learned what works for my channel, what doesn't work for my channel, so it's kind of interesting to reflect back also on what type of content I was making a year ago. It's making me feel a little bit nostalgic, I'm not gonna lie. But aside from that, this was a complete miss for me. I do not like this at all. And I don't know who I would recommend this to. I think because it's called a hydrating concealer, a lot of us would assume that it's a glowy, creamy concealer for under the eyes, which is what it was made for, but it's actually kind of dry, kind of cakey, and also more of a satin natural finish. So if you're looking for a glowy concealer, this is not going to be it. I also have a huge problem, it's more of like a specific personal problem, with Fenty shade range. For some reason, no matter what their complexion products are, I cannot find a shade that actually matches me. Their medium shades, I feel like they're missing like one or two in betweens to match my skin tone, because I think there's one shade that's way too light for me and then one shade that's too deep for me, and then the undertones are kind of off for me. So unfortunately, the shade on this didn't work for me that well. I had swatched other shades and they still just weren't the right color for me. With concealers, I can get away with it a little bit more because they can be lighter than your skin tone. But other than the shade range, the formula also isn't that great. I don't know if I would recommend this even if you had dry skin. I wouldn't recommend this if you have oily skin. It really just depends on your under eyes. I have heard that this formula is good to wear as a foundation, so there's hope in that sense. But from my experience of using this as a normal concealer for blemishes, it does not give me enough coverage. I feel like it makes my complexion look worse, and under the eyes, it's a huge no-no for me. So this was a miss. Unfortunately, I can't recommend it. Now, a concealer that I do recommend is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Color Corrector. I have been using this every single time I do my makeup. This was the color corrector for me, and it's mainly because of the shade. Huda Beauty, I think, is one of the first brands that actually made a range of peachy color correcting concealers. Usually, brands will come out with color correcting concealers, but it's one peach color, one green color, and it's not fit for a variety of shade ranges. But Huda Beauty did it differently, and because of Huda Beauty, I have finally been able to use peach color corrector in a way that actually benefits and actually works. Because there was a phase that I thought color corrector wasn't for me, and I felt like color corrector wasn't doing anything. But now that I have this one, I always mix it in with my under eye concealer just to cover up some darkness. I do have a lot of hyperpigmentation and dark spots, so I also mix it with my regular spot concealer, and it's just a very versatile product. It's a thin consistency, so it's easy to mix and apply with other things and also cover up. It doesn't make your makeup any more cakier because usually you're layering on top of your color corrector. The only con that I have about this is the packaging, because it leaks. Since it's so watery, if you lay it flat, it will leak, it will get everywhere. But other than that, great formula. I just hope she updates the packaging. All right, let's move on to blush, because I'm blush crazy. Dang. During the Sephora sale, I do plan on buying more blushes because they just keep launching. I have a blush obsession, but also I buy products for review. And if blushes are what's launching, that's what I end up buying. One of the most viral blushes of last year was the Milk Makeup Jelly Blush. I think it's, what is it called? It's the Jelly Stain? I don't know what it's called exactly, but you know what it looks like. It's the one that everyone kept taking a bite out of. Insane. I'm having flashbacks from 2024, which is kind of funny. Now that 1 year has passed, I think y'all are expecting me to say that I hate this, I don't like this, and that it's overhyped, but you would be wrong because I actually love this. I constantly wore this in the summer. It was just such a fun product to use. I'm all about texture. I love the cooling feeling of this. I love the jelly texture of this. Yes, it's kind of gimmicky, and some people complain that it's difficult to apply because it's a stain, so it doesn't blend as well. And I would agree. I do think that because it's a stain, it's not going to blend as well as a cream or a liquid blush or even a powder blush. However, the shade that I have, I've never really had a problem with it. I have spurts, which is kind of like this corally, vibrant, pinkish color. And I think because this isn't a super dark shade like the purple or the berry color, it's easier to blend on my skin. My trick to use this as a blush is to take a brush and dab it as if it's a cream product, and then when I apply it on my cheeks, it applies exactly how I want to. I wouldn't recommend using it directly on your face, even though I've done that too and I don't have that big of a problem with it. I also really love to use this mostly as a lip stain. This really got me into using a lip stain every day during the summer, because before I was using lip tints, I was using this as just like that natural popsicle lip flush. So I think this product is a matter of preference. If you want something that's more blendable, if you want something that is less vibrant, then I would stay away from this. But if you like fun makeup products, you want something that's long lasting, is a stain, gives you a flush, I do think that this could work for you with just some small adjustments in your technique. And during the Sephora sale, I think I had also purchased these during the sale. I can't really recall, but it should have been in the first quarter of the year. I purchased 2 new shades of the Patrick Ta cream blush duos. Now, based on present day, Patrick Ta is not really a brand that I really care for anymore. There's so much controversy around his brand. It's pretty unfortunate because these blushes are nice. I'm not gonna lie, they're nice. I got the shade She's the Moment, which is what I'm wearing on my cheeks today. It's a peachy pink blush. It's very, very vibrant. Then I also have the shade in Just Enough, which is more of a light, soft pink. Now, this is the one that I use the most because it shows up on my skin the best and it's the most flattering. And then the soft pink is a little bit too pale, a little bit too white for my personal taste and preference, but I have been able to use this as eyeshadow, or when I'm doing more fun, creative looks and I just want some crazy pink blush, then I will go in with this. Overall, I will say that his cream blush duos are worth the hype. Are they my favorite though? Definitely not. I actually discovered another blush formula I liked better around the same time. I recall buying these because they were new shades in his line when they launched. I think I had another shade before these and I remember not liking it as much. So I do think the shade you choose will play a big part in whether or not you'll like these. Now, the blush that I actually ended up liking more are the Haus powder blushes. These are, to me, superior to the Patrick Ta blushes because I could kind of care less about the cream formula. I do like the cream formula in the Patrick Ta blushes, but I could live without them. I don't think those are a selling point for me. If he could make them half the price for just the powder, I would be satisfied with that. But even then, the powder formula can be just a little bit too pigmented for me. And some of the powder blushes that he has aren't fully matte. So I find myself reaching for the Haus blushes a lot more than the Patrick Ta blushes. I think that these are more reliable in my everyday makeup routine. I have the shade in Pomelo Peach, which is absolutely my favorite. This is similar to the peachy blush I showed earlier from Patrick Ta, but it's slightly less pigmented. I also have the shade in French Rosette, which is more of a red pink blush. And then the shade Fire Moon, which I think at some point went viral last year. This is more of that terracotta orangey sunburn blush. Unfortunately, they did downsize these in the packaging last year, and I don't think the price changed that drastically. I do think this formula is beautiful, especially if you have textured skin. You want something that has a soft matte finish, is pigmented, not patchy on the skin, very easy to apply. I don't have anything bad to say about these blushes. The last blush I bought last year was the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Matte Beauty Blush Wand, and this one is in the shade Dream Pop, which is just a bright red blush. You know how much I love Peach Pop from Charlotte Tilbury. It is a staple. Just like the Haus blushes, Peach Pop from Charlotte Tilbury, cannot live without it. So I got it in a different shade because red was trending last year, and I think this is just as good. I find this to be a little bit more pigmented than Peach Pop, so it's slightly more difficult to work with, but it does give you that Victoria's Secret red blush effect, and it has that soft satin finish, maybe not fully matte, but still very natural on the skin and not texture enhancing at all. This is an expensive product, I know, $42, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you got it during a sale, but I do love them. Hopping in here because I think that this footage was deleted, but I'll be really quick. The powder bronzer from Haus Labs is one of my all-time favorite purchases from last year. It's my favorite bronzer powder formula. It's velvety, but also kind of luminous without over-enhancing your texture. But they recently reformulated these bronzers or changed the shade range in some type of way. So I can't confidently say that the new formula is just as good, but I am interested in comparing the two. And just like the blushes, I have been raving about the powder bronzer throughout the year, so that's how you know I truly love these. Around this time last year, I also bought 2 setting sprays, the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. This is a staple in my makeup routine. You know that I love this. It's great to just add life back to your skin after you apply on powder or foundation. I use this right after cream makeup just to set everything, melt all of the colors together, and then I apply powder afterwards. I can't get over this. It smells really good. And then of course we have the One Size Until Dawn Mattifying Setting Spray. One Size is for the oily skin girls. They know how to make products for us. This is totally worth the hype. It literally smells like hairspray. It feels like hairspray. It feels like it's breaking me out, which is scary. So I don't use it every single time I do my makeup. Again, I only really use it when I'm doing a full face of makeup. Don't want my makeup to budge. I need it to last all day kind of situation. Or if it's like hot, humid weather, this is a staple. If you are getting married, if you're going to a wedding, if you have a long night out, if you work long hours, One Size Until Dawn, you will not regret it. You can even get a mini size if you're not sure if it's for you. We're moving on to more of the regret purchases of last year, starting with the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter. This was a product I was influenced to buy. I'm not a highlighter person. I do not know why. Well, I do know why I bought this. I specifically was just curious and wanted to see if it was worth the hype. And of course, everything that I buy is being reviewed for you. So even if I don't like it, it always has a benefit in terms of my content. It's not that I don't like this, it's just that I don't use it or wear it. So if I was a normal consumer, normal viewer who just wore makeup on the everyday, this would be a complete waste of money because it is $40 something and it's a huge highlight that is so unnecessary. I think that highlighters, someone's gonna fight me on this, but in my mind, in my little bubble, in my little world, I do believe that highlighters are a waste. They're a waste because they're basically big pans of sheer eyeshadow, and you can find similar finishes and textures in your eyeshadow. Again, someone might fight me on this, but I do think they're similar, okay? They are very similar. This highlight, I was influenced by it because it is more of that sheer skin-like highlight. It's not as texture enhancing as most highlights. So I do think that it is beautiful, and if you are a highlighter person, if you find value in highlighters versus using an eyeshadow, then I do think that this is a beautiful formula, especially if you do have large pores and texture. It does not give the glitter bomb, like Rare Beauty highlight kind of vibe. It gives more of that natural, soft sheen. If I could go back in time, this is a product that I would probably return. Okay, let's move on to lip products because I bought a handful of lip products this time last year, starting with Patrick Ta's Plumping lip gloss. The shade is called Say Less, so I'm going to try to keep it short. This is goopy, stringy, sticky. The color is beautiful, but I hate the formula. A formula I like better than that one are the Gisou Lip Oils. These were so hyped up a few years ago. They had launched new shades last year. I had never tried this formula before, so I wanted to try it out in their new shades. I do like the formula of this. I think it is very glossy and glass-like on the lips. It's also not super sticky, and even though it's an oil, it does have some slight tackiness, so it's not smearing all over your face, if you know what I'm saying. And because it has that tackiness, it also has more longevity than most lip oils. My only problem with these is that I did not like the scent of watermelon sugar, and the shades are just clear. And I do have a problem with clear lip glosses because how many clear lip glosses do I need? But other than that, I think that the formula is beautiful. The reformulation is great. Then we have the Makeup by Mario Satin lipsticks. These were a new launch for 2024 and I really like it. This is a great satin lipstick. It kind of reminds me of MAC. I mean, a satin lipstick is a satin lipstick, you know, as long as it is a great color and isn't drying on the lips, or I don't know what would make a bad satin lipstick now that I think about it. I have the shade in Flat Iron, which is one of the only nude shades that I have in my makeup collection, and it just adds a little bit of that brightness. For my lip combos, I sometimes will dab it in the middle. I really love this shade. I find it to be very versatile. It is super pigmented, so expect to get color out of this, and the packaging feels very high quality. It has that magnetic cap to it. Now, a lip oil that I think I changed my mind on because I gave this a bad review when I bought it. It was the Summer Fridays lip oil. I have the shade in Rosewood Nights. I'm actually almost out of this. I don't think this came with a lot of product because I really don't feel like I was using this often. I don't feel like I was using this every single day, but apparently I was getting use out of it. I would apply it every once in a while. Usually when I lost my lip balm, I would use the lip oil, and I started to realize that I liked it. I liked it simply because I had it and I found it to be hydrating on the lips. I think I like it better than the Summer Fridays lip balm. My only problem with it, and the part where I gave it a bad review, is because it's truly a lip oil. Unlike the Gisou lip oils, this is so much thinner. It's not as tacky. It doesn't have really any tackiness at all. So if I tried to wear this as like a glowy lip product, the pigment of this shade will kind of smear, which I don't really like. And because it's like a sheer dark shade, I just don't like the way that it kind of sits on my lips, and it doesn't last as long because it's a lip oil and it has no tackiness to it. Other than that though, in terms of hydration and moisture, I really like it that way. I like to wear it as a temporary kind of lip balm before I apply on my actual lip products. Will I repurchase it though? Probably not. And I think this was during the Sephora sale. I bought the Refy mascara because it was new. I wanted to review it, but also it was very intriguing to me. It has that curved brush. It's slightly thinner and smaller than the mascara ones that you usually see. I did like the formula of this in the sense that it wasn't too wet, but it also wasn't too dry, so it doesn't hold down my lashes and make them flat like a lot of wet mascaras do. But my biggest complaint about this mascara and what kind of ruined the product for me was the wand, which is actually what got me to want to buy it to review it, because the wand is so oddly shaped. You would think the wand would make applying mascara a lot easier, but it actually was a very awkward wand for my eye shape specifically. So I think this just really depends on what your eye shape is like. If you have an eye shape that fits this wand, I feel like you would really like it as a lengthening, separating mascara. But if you have my eye shape that's a little bit more almond, a little bit smaller, this wand is too big and awkward to apply with. So for that reason, if again you have similar preferences to me, I wouldn't recommend this. And if you are interested in it, I would go into the store to see what the wand looks like in person. Obviously don't put it on your eyes, but see what it looks like in person. See if you can kind of hold it up to your eyes at least to get an idea of what that application experience would be like. Another really hyped up product last year was the Rare Beauty Brow Gel. I remember this launched and people were raving like crazy about it. In my head, I was thinking to myself, how good can a brow gel be? I'm a huge fan of my Benefit brow gel, so I didn't expect this to be better than that brow gel. However, now that a year has passed, I think it's my new favorite. I can't believe I'm saying that. Nothing has been able to compete with my Benefit brow gel, okay? That is the strongest holding brow gel that I own, to the point where it will be crunchy. And I know a lot of people hate that, but if you have stubborn eyebrow hairs like mine, hairs that grow downward but also upward, that is the only brow gel that works for me, until I tried Rare Beauty. This actually has almost just as good of a hold. It's slightly less strong, but good enough for me to be satisfied without making my eyebrows feel crunchy. I have it on my eyebrows today, and now that I have bangs, I don't feel like my eyebrows have to be perfectly laminated, so I've been using this every single day. It is so easy to use. If anything, it's easier to use than the Benefit Brow Gel. I also really love the brush of this. I think that it applies better than the Benefit Brow Gel. So if you like the Benefit Brow Gel, I've said that a million times, but you want something that is not crunchy, not flaky, not like hairspray hold, just slightly looser, but still strong, Rare Beauty Brow Gel. This is totally worth the hype. Now, this is the last makeup product before I move on to skincare. It's the Armani Liquid Eye Paint, and I have the shade in, I can't see it. It's a cool tone brown color. This was also very hyped up last year. Actually, it's been hyped up throughout the previous years, but it goes on and off from virality. I love a good liquid product. This is kind of like a moussey liquid product. It's that liquid to matte finish. It is medium to sheer coverage in terms of color. It kind of depends on the color that you get. If you want to get into liquid eyeshadow, I do think that this is very easy to use, especially if you're using liquid eyeshadow as a one and done situation. It's very easy to blend, very hard to mess up. Again, the pigment depends on the color you get, so the darker it gets, the more difficult it might be to blend and use. But this color in particular, I find very easy to use. When I don't know what to put on my eyes and I just want a little bit of color, a little bit of something, a little bit of coverage, I go in with this. Do I use it as often as I had when I purchased it? No, mainly because the shade is slightly too cool tone for me, but this can also be used as a contour, which I have used it like that before. So it is a versatile product. I love any liquid eye paint situation. It's pricey, but I do think it's the most easy to use eye paint I've ever tried. Okay, so that was all of the makeup. Let's move on to skincare. Now, you know how I feel about reviewing skincare. I don't buy too much skincare to review because my skin just can't take it. And I do believe that skincare needs a significant amount of time before I review it. Now that a year has passed by, I have my thoughts and I can confidently speak about some of these products and also re-review them if I've already talked about them. Starting with the Ilia Face Base Milk, I still think and dream about this product. I've finished all of it already, and it is the golden standard for me for a milky toner. Now, I do love the Tier Milk Skin Toner. I still use it, and I'm actually trying to use it all up. I never thought toners were essential in my skincare routine until I tried the Ilia Tier. These are now necessary in order to help with my oily but dehydrated skin, aside from obviously drinking water. I like the Tier Milk Skin Toners for the morning time because they're not as thick as the Ilia, but what makes the Ilia so special is the fact that it is so freaking hydrating. It can just be worn alone as a moisturizer, and the Tier Milk Skin Toners are great as a hydrating layer, but I do need to put moisturizer on top. With the Ilia, I could just use that in sunscreen and I would be good to go for the day. So if you have your eyes on this product, I do think that it is worth the hype in the long term, of course, and if you find that you want a heavier, more thicker essence / toner. It also doesn't have a fragrance to it, which is great. But once I finish the Tier Milk Skin Toner, I think I'm gonna go on a hunt to find a cheaper alternative to the Ilia because I love it that much. And if I can't find an alternative or anything very close to it, then I'm just gonna repurchase it because I miss it. I really do. And another product that launched last year was the Glow Recipe Niacinamide Hue Drops. I love their OG dew drops, so I thought that I would love this. And yes, it's a very similar formula, if not the same, but it has more of a golden hue, kind of golden glow. Almost gives me a tan-like finish. I think that the OG dew drops, this is becoming a tongue twister, the OG dew drops is great under makeup, and so I thought this would also be be that for me, but also give me slightly more coverage, if anything, even out my skin tone a little bit. But that was where I'm, was wrong, because it's definitely not meant to do that. It has zero coverage. It's very sheer, but it does still have a golden glowy sheen to it. Personally, for me, I only like to use this on my body. If you have clear skin, not a lot of redness, not a lot of hyperpigmentation or dark spots, it will look gorgeous on you. But with dark spots, with hyperpigmentation, it kind of makes my skin look more splotchy, so I don't like to use this on my face. I would like to finish it up, so I will be putting this all over my body for the rest of the summer and probably purchasing the OG dewdrops instead if I want to use it as a primer for my face. We are almost done. Stay with me. Tower 28 SOS Daily Rescue Facial Spray. It is basically just a glorified hypochlorous acid spray. You can find a cheaper alternative with the same exact ingredients on Amazon, so you don't need to pay Tower 28 price or Sephora price to get this product. But other than that, I do think this is another product that's a matter of what your skin is like. This is going to be very, very personal to your skin and your skin type. It's supposed to prevent you from breaking out. You see people on social media spraying it all over their face, all hours of the day, and I wouldn't recommend that, truthfully. I actually think that this is a very drying spray. When I was using this, the way that I saw people on social media using this, I could not figure out why my skin was so dry, because I have oily skin. So I went back to my old skincare routine. I stopped spraying this and I noticed that my skin was not as dry. So just to test it, I spent a day spraying this on my face and my skin kept getting drier and drier the more I sprayed this on my face. So I definitely would not recommend spraying it the way that a social media influencer sprays this on their face. I think if anything, it would be good to spray on before makeup or maybe once a day or even before bed or something like that. But if I'm being honest with you, I don't think this had any real true benefit for my skin at all besides trying it out. So unfortunately, this wasn't the glorified product that I hoped it was gonna be. It says here, the happy solution for angry skin. It's supposed to smooth, purify, and renew. I didn't find that it did any of that for my skin at all. If this worked for you, I know there is like a cult following for this product. Please don't come at me. I'm so happy it worked for you. It's not for me. And just to put it out there, I did give it a fair chance. This is almost done. It's down to here. And I will probably just use this on my body during the summer and maybe every once in a while on my face, but I could definitely live without it. Oh shoot, I thought we were on the last product, but I completely forgot about this one. It's the Topicals Sealed Active Scar Primer. So this has also retinol in it, medical grade silicone, peptides, and you're supposed to apply this on before sunscreen, moisturizer, and makeup. Okay, this was another product fail for me. There are also mixed reviews on this product and I'm definitely leaning more on like the 2 or 3 star for this product because I don't find it to be practical for my skin. I also think it was breaking me out, so I can't really give it the fairest review because once I felt like it was breaking me out, I stopped using it. In terms of the primer aspect of things, the silicone aspect of things, I don't think it does what it claims when it says it is a active scar primer. I thought that this was going to be able to fill in some of my more pitted acne scars as a primer, not as like a long-term solution. And the retinol was just an added plus, but it didn't work any different than your typical silicone primer like the Huda Beauty or the Benefit Pore Primer. It wasn't magical in that sense. And in terms of skincare, I didn't see the benefit because I felt like it was breaking me out. And also, this is supposed to be worn before sunscreen, moisturizer, and makeup, which is not how I naturally apply on my skincare products. So it just didn't fit into my skincare and makeup routine, and I was having a hard time remembering to use it that way. I don't think that this was worth it for me. I do regret it and I cannot recommend it, unfortunately. This is a skip. Dang, I should have ended on a high note, but we're gonna end on a low note. This is the Dr. Jart Tiger Grass Color Correcting Treatment. This has gone viral multiple times, and it's really just supposed to help with redness, which is all I wanted. Just a cream that was going to be applied under makeup and almost be like a green color corrector in a way. Unfortunately, it gives me a crazy white cast, and it doesn't work for my skin tone. So if you are a medium brown tan skin tone, just skip on this, because I couldn't even enjoy the benefit of the actual product because it just gave me a white cast. And also, it's more of a drying texture, so I did not like the way that it applied under makeup. To me, this was a little bit overhyped, and it just really depends on your skin tone. I would rather just wear sunscreen and cover my face with concealer and foundation if I want to cover up my redness. I didn't expect this video to make me feel nostalgic, but I do, because as I'm looking at all of these purchasing decisions and why I bought them for my channel, it just really warms my heart, because I feel like I've come a long way with my content. And I know I say this in every video, but I'm gonna say it again. Thank you all so much for the love and support you've given me in the past year. I'm just seriously so grateful that I get to do this, and I can sit here and talk about nonsense all day to strangers. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and as always, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye!